Admiral Zephyros of the Hegemony Council floated in his command sphere, his crystalline form refracting the holographic display that showed Earth's pathetic excuse for a fleet. Around him, the assembled representatives of 17 galactic civilizations chittered, hummed, and projected their amusement through various forms of communication. "Look at them," wheezed Ambassador Krell through his breathing apparatus, his tentacles writhing with mirth. Crude chemical propulsion, primitive fusion reactors, and what appears to be kinetic weapons. The mollusk delegate's laughter bubbled through his tank. "They're using metal projectiles in the age of plasma and dark matter manipulation." The humans had finally been discovered 3 cycles ago, hiding in their little corner of the Orion Arm. The Galactic Council had extended the usual invitation to join the civilized galaxy, expecting the typical humble acceptance and grateful submission that followed first contact. Instead, humanity had done something unprecedented. They had declined. Not only declined, but they had the audacity to claim they wanted to maintain their independence and forge their own path among the stars. The very suggestion that a primitive species could stand alone against the established order had been met with universal derision. Thus, the human education fleet had been assembled, a modest collection of second-tier vessels from various council species, more than sufficient to demonstrate the futility of resistance. The humans would see the overwhelming technological superiority arrayed against them, surrender gracefully, and accept their proper place as a client species. Zephyros watched the human fleet approach through the void. 57 vessels of laughably simple design, angular, brutish things that looked more like flying construction equipment than warships. No elegant curves, no energy fields shimmering. Around their hulls, no impossible geometries that bent spacetime. Just metal and ceramic and the faint blue glow of what the scans identified as primitive fusion drives. "Perhaps we should have brought only a single ship," mused Commander Vexhai, her insectoid mandibles clicking with amusement. "This seems almost cruel." "The humans requested this demonstration," Zephyros replied, his voice resonating through subspace. "They claimed their United Earth Defense Force could hold its own against any galactic power. We are simply educating them." The human fleet had arranged itself in what appeared to be some sort of battle formation, a crude, 3-dimensional grid that any first-year tactical student could identify 17 different ways to exploit. Their lead vessel, identified by intercepted transmissions as the UES Indomitable, was broadcasting on primitive radio frequencies. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," came the translation through the Council's universal interpreters. "You have entered Sol system space without permission and ignored our warnings to withdraw. This is your final opportunity to leave peacefully." The assembled delegates erupted in fresh waves of amusement. A species that had barely achieved faster-than-light travel was warning them? It was delicious. "Respond to their quaint little threat," Zephyros commanded his communications officer. "Inform them that their surrender will be accepted, and their integration into the Council will proceed as planned." The reply came swiftly. "Negative. Sol system is under Earth jurisdiction. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "Consequences?" Krell's laughter made his entire tank vibrate. What consequences could they possibly? The first salvo from the human fleet interrupted his mirth. Zephyros watched in stunned silence as thousands of projectiles erupted from the human ships, not the handful of shots expected from crude kinetic weapons, but an absolute storm of metal, traveling at significant fractions of light speed. The primitive fusion drives, it seemed, had been masking something far more sophisticated. The lead Council ship, the hegemony cruiser Eternal Wisdom, simply vanished. One moment it was there, its shields gleaming, its plasma arrays charging. The next, it was expanding debris and superheated gas. "Impossible." Vexhai's compound eyes dilated, in shock. "Our shields should have..." 3 more Council ships died in rapid succession. The human projectiles were moving too fast, hitting too hard. These weren't simple kinetic rounds. They were relativistic kill vehicles, each one carrying the energy of a small star. "How?" Zephyros demanded of his tactical officer. "Our sensors," detected no weapons of this magnitude. "Sir," the officer's voice was barely a whisper. "The projectiles, they're not being fired from the ships we can see. Passive sensor analysis suggests stealth platforms, hundreds of them positioned throughout the system." As if to confirm this assessment, more salvos erupted from empty space. Ships that had been invisible to the most sophisticated sensors in the galaxy revealed themselves only by their muzzle flashes. The human fleet wasn't 57 ships, it was over 300, most of them hidden behind stealth technology that made them ghosts in the void. The Council fleet, so confident, moments before found itself trapped in a carefully prepared killing field. Every movement was anticipated, every tactical decision countered before it could be implemented. The humans had studied their enemies, learned their patterns, and prepared accordingly. "Full retreat," Zephyros commanded, his crystalline form flickering with panic. "All ships, emergency jump protocols." But the humans had thought of that too. Gravity mines erupted throughout the system, creating artificial mass shadows that prevented faster-than-light escape. The Council fleet was trapped, pinned between an anvil and a hammer that struck with the force of colliding worlds. In 23 minutes, it was over. Of the 47 Council ships that had entered Sol system, only 12 limped away, their hulls scarred and their crews traumatized. The mighty Galactic Council, rulers of 10,000 worlds, had been decisively defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Chen's voice crackled across the aftermath. "Tell your council that Earth stands alone, and Earth stands ready. Any future education fleets will receive the same lesson." Zephyros, floating in the emergency command pod of his crippled flagship, stared at the tactical display that showed the true scope of humanity's preparation. Hidden shipyards, concealed weapons platforms, stealth fleets, an entire military infrastructure that had been built in secret, while the galaxy laughed at their primitive technology. The humans had let the galaxy see what they wanted to see, crude ships with simple weapons. They had hidden their true capabilities behind false readings and carefully maintained deceptions. While the Council had been congratulating itself on its technological superiority, humanity had been preparing for war, and they had been preparing very, very well. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's fleet. Now, as word of the defeat spread through 100 worlds, that laughter had died in 1,000 throats. Humanity had announced itself to the cosmos not as supplicants but as warriors. The galaxy would not make the mistake of underestimating them again.